हाँ आलोक ज्वाइन कर लिया ना? हाँ सो
Join
अभी
कर
क्या है, हम अभी आपको वीडियो पे नहीं ला रहे हैं। जैसे पार्टिसिपेंट्स आएंगे तब मैं आपको होस्ट बनाऊंगा, तब आपका वीडियो चालू हो जाएगा।
ठीक है।
So Alok is currently Deputy Managing Director, Human Resources and Chief Development Officer in State Bank of India. He also serves the role of Chief Sustainability Officer, who is keen to drive further the sustainability initiatives of the bank. Joined State Bank as a probationary officer in 1987 and has 33 plus years of meritorious and distinguished experience in a variety of roles in diverse locations, ranging from branch banking to retail to commercial banking. Also headed some of the largest branches of State Bank of India and also headed regions and zones of strategic importance. He has been recognized for his people management skills early on in all his assignments. In his present policy-making role, he steers the most critical function of HR for developing and engaging. This is something which is very important for me to highlight. It's not only getting people in, it's also about developing and engaging a workforce of about 250,000 people. And this is definitely a question that I'm going to ask him. How does he do it? And also building capabilities for new generation banking in State Bank of India. He is passionately engaged in redefining boundaries of HR by re-engineering of processes and envisioning the new normal in a digital environment. So let's get him on board. I'll make him host for this event so that he can come on board. Alok, you can switch on your camera.
Yeah.
So great to have your presence.
Am I visible?
Here. You are visible. Yes.
You are visible. Yes. That's right.
And if you can adjust the lighting a little bit on the front, is it possible? Is it possible? Easily, if it is easily possible.
Yeah, let me do that. Maybe it appears a bit of a problem. Is a bit of a problem if I do that.
That's okay. Otherwise, we'll manage it. We'll manage it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is better. So how quickly we align to the new normal, that's what Alok has just shown us. Thank you. First of all, thanks Alok for being here. And let me mention to you that we already have 50 people as a part of this conversation. And some of the names that I was seeing in the participants, some of them are really, really senior people. And some of the people whom I have met and developed a lot of respect for them over a period of time. And I'm sure they'll be excited to listen to you, and they'll have some questions also for you. So let me start with the theme of that we finally decided and agreed upon, that emerging times. So what do you see as emerging times, Alok? What is going to happen in the next, I won't even say 1 year, because 1 year things may become normal as far as movement of people is concerned. But the shock that this economy has taken, or the world economy has taken, it will take its own time to come back to its feet. So what do you see as the emerging time from 1 to 5 years period?
See, from my perspective, we'll not talk about political situation.
No political.
Well, what I'm saying is, just from framework perspective, you will have situations where as we are seeing that there is a stage where the economies of the world, they are trying to protect themselves. And so there will be policies which would try to protect the local economy, that international trade which happens, and the import which happens. So there will be some changes in, say, and
Is your
so the
connection
production
all right,
chains in the
Alok?
world, say, in perspective in terms of economy. Are you able to listen?
No, there is a little voice breaking happening from your end. Let me check with the audience. Are you able to hear him clearly? Just type in the chat box that if you are able to. No. There's a voice breaking happening.
Move to some other place. Okay now? Is it okay now? Are you able to listen?
Yeah, it's definitely better. Yeah.
Definitely better.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying is, first of all, the way we have been understanding the world, that we'll move to one country or to other country for earning livelihood, selling our own goods or services which we've been producing. So there will be some changes, some resetting, some rejigging in the world order of economy. Now, the second thing is that the way economy has been arranged so far, say manufacturing, services, or agriculture. Now in this, we generally have been going going more towards services and more towards manufacturing, depending upon the economic situation and competitiveness of a country. Now, we understand that, at least it's my understanding, that agriculture will get a better share in sort of policy making, because it has been disrupted the list, and this is the most essential commodity for the survival of the human race.
Right.
So there will be a lot of focus on agriculture, rural development, as well as developing clusters of, factories or clusters of enterprises near people's homes, because in those times we have already seen that people migrated from this place to places where there were opportunities, to places where they found their own solace, like their own homes, understanding that there will not be opportunities for a lot of money there, but at least they will have the comfort of their own homes and their surroundings. So there will be more and more democratization of, say, economic opportunities, where people will get their own jobs nearby. That is two. Number three, what I'm understanding is that, see, the technology will be the great force, which will always be simplifying the work which we're doing. And it will also be bringing about new ways of working, new types of roles, new types of jobs. So a lot of learning would be required for each one of us, wherever we are in the say continuum of being illiterate to highly literate. All of us will have to regularly learn, unlearn, and then you will have a lot of emphasis on environmental factors or environmental awareness. Economy and environmental, like say we have been all talking about the sustainability development goals, where we say that whatever we do, it has to be sustainable for the generations to come, so that the next generation understands that the old generation has left something for us, they have not consumed everything. So there would be some, say, some lesser emphasis on consumerism, more emphasis on sustainable consumption, sustainable production, and emphasis on, environment and economy, both being seen from the same angle rather than separate. So there will be change, and changes will be in all spheres, the way we have organized our society, the way we have organized ourselves, the economic agencies which are working, they will need to change, the new products and services would come, technical skills which we have been, thinking that these skills are the ultimate for one's life, those we have to learn and unlearn maybe every year. So that kind of demand on an individual will be there. And environment, sustainability, compassion, all these things will have more force in our interactions than what was before. This is what my understanding of the entire situation for at least next 3-4 years, till we have something known as, say, vaccine, which can and give us back the old ways of life, and maybe with slight traces of the new advancements which we have made in the different spheres of our working.
Right.
So this is how
So I pick up two aspects of your response and ask a follow-up question on this. One, you say that sustainability, that will be a
yes.
focus area. And your role also demands sustainability development. So how do you align that? Does it help you? In fact, shall I say that will your role become even more important in terms of how do you bring sustainability to your operations? And second question is, you mentioned that there will be more democratization and more localized job opportunities available. So on that front, have you seen something started happening in India?
Well, I don't have the exact data to support.
No, we don't need data, but your perspective.
But perspective-wise, because of my own, say, connect with my own village or my own society where I come from, and I find a lot of people who move from Mumbai or Delhi or, say, Punjab or some other places, in the villages or the suburban space, they have tried to use their own, say, techniques which they have learned. I'll give you a simple example. A good number of people from a place known as Baka, from those villages, we didn't know about it. They all moved to Hyderabad, then they all learned how to cook different kind of biryanis. And Hyderabadi biryanis, you know, the types and flavors, they're entirely different. Now, these people, they went to that particular district and they started this biryani thing in, 2-3 shops, 4 shops, and suddenly there was a need for biryani. So, that the skills which they have learned from one place, they are trying to transplant in their own environments, and the needs are created. Because if you have something, people would have been eating biryani only in wedding ceremonies, but now it's a daily affair. Somebody can go spend 10 rupees or 20 rupees and get a piece of biryani.
Right.
So this is now in some places what I have seen and I have gathered is like say somebody working in a place where you had mushroom processing. Now these people, they have all 6-7 of them belonging to a particular village or a small block. They have come together and they've tried to find out what we can do for mushroom thing, and then popularize it as a normal vegetable for people in the villages, which is not. So these baby steps are being taken, and people in India, you and I will agree that we are highly creative people in India. And we have a deep, say, DNA for survival. Whether it was Gajni, Gori or whatever, or in all times people found ways to survive. So with this perspective, I understand that people in India, they're highly resilient and they will find opportunity, the skills which they have got at other places and the materials which are available locally, both of them will interact and something new will happen, new needs will be created, new cash flows will be generated. So this is what I understand.
Great. And on the sustainability part?
On the sustainability part, see, sustainability, all organizations, the top 100 or so organizations, they have to bring out sustainability report every year as a kind of regulatory mandate. On this, all organizations, whatever they have done in the space, one thing is very clear that organizations per se, starting from the tone of the top to the echo from the bottom, everybody understands that there is a need for conservation. And need for conservation being known, but how to make it visceral understanding. There are two types of understanding. One, you will have a mental understanding, and one, you will have a visceral understanding. So till you understand that I have to conserve water, I have to conserve, I don't have to pollute the atmosphere, but in creating it as a framework for all your actions, whatever action, suppose you are lighting a cigarette, moment that ESG framework comes to your mind that you're polluting your own body, and not only your body but the environment, and then something stops you. So those drivers of ESG, I think they will come slowly because there will be a lot of talk around it. And people have already understood that we need to conserve nature, and Corona, the narrative, because a lot of narratives going on. Like for Corona, someday you would also get some WhatsApp forwards. People say, we have done a lot of damage to the nature, and that is why it's a nature's fury. You would have seen
right.
a lot of WhatsApp forwards.
Right.
So different types of noises are coming in, and they're all impacting people, impacting children, impacting adults.
True.
So you will have a cultural, say, sensitivity and a cultural push towards ESG. Sustainability will become much, much important, and people will try to understand and differentiate that what is sustainable, what is not.
Right. Thank you. Thanks. That was a very elaborate way of expression. Now, let's come to the people dimension, the core area. In your introduction also, it was mentioned that you have been identified as a hardcore kind of HR person right from early on in your career. So let's ask some questions about that. So tell me this, Alok, that banking being an essential service, people had to go to bank. Means other than the typical lockdown when everything was stopped, how did you continue to support your people? Because the risk for them was even higher. And I would go on to say that their risk was not much talked about. We talked about the risk of police personnel, we talked about the risk of health personnel, but banking was not talked about as much, but they were also equally exposed. So what kind of support were you providing to them?
See, somehow, sometime back, maybe years back, I read somewhere that the basic job of an individual is to keep himself motivated irrespective of the environmental positive strokes or absence of strokes.
Right.
Now, organizations also, this was the first time where I as an individual and organization as a group, it tested that how superordination creates things which in normal times could not be implemented, right? We haven't talked about superordination, think of something which is much bigger than you, not your selfish interest. We all have been talking about it in different contexts. But in this time, when you had a complete, say, dominant narrative, which said, stay at home, don't move, don't meet with people, right? And do only what is required. If you're more than of a particular age, please take special caution.
Right.
Now, when you have this cacophony of noise coming from here and there, as an individual, you are bound to be influenced by that.
True.
And then the fear comes. You have some Twitter, handles giving you a lot of fear, or giving you also a sense of being discriminated. Why only bankers? Why not others? So that was a real test of culture of an organization. So what we did is that we asked our people, of course, it could not be in terms of giving a town hall meeting or direct communication. But the culture was that we run the country. Say, when we say that banker to every Indian, now this was the time to probably really permeate this feeling or inject this feeling in people's mind that we are the people who run the country as SBI. Say 25% of 43 crore of customers you deal with, right? And if you see the total population 135 crore or so, right, 44 you deal with, and in all geographies, you're banker to the nation. So that feeling, infusion of that feeling in the people, that if you stop, see, let me have a simile with the demonetization exercise also. We had a demonetization exercise, remember that?
Right.
And that exercise, it was SBI, wherever it was, which was the dominant or the, say, the most important medium of execution of this exercise. So now all our people, they work day in and day and night without causing any issue for management or without causing any issue for people. Now, similar situation here, that people suddenly they had this feeling that it is we who have been given this responsibility to say be the lifeline of the economy. And then we had say announcements regarding help to people, the downtrodden people or disadvantaged people in terms of direct benefit transfers. So the people would come. Now, if the people would come there, so people started having this thought that we are important. Number two, in the meanwhile, what we also did that we always thought, uh, see, if you find a acrobat, a small child, when it starts moving on that particular rope, then his family members are together, don't worry, we are here. So the feeling that somebody is there or the organization is there, it has to be expressed in tangible terms. Now we did that without asking, without any demand from any staff member. We gave some compensation. We communicated a lot with people. We also allowed people who were having comorbidities to stay at home and not come to work. We also created opportunities for people who can work from home in some space where we could, or where the things were malleable to be done. So I think a sense of community, a strong community, where people understood that there are village elders, there is a village council, which will support all of us in times of need. So once you have this feeling that there is somebody or a group who is going to support, then you can enter into a volcano, or you can go to North Pole without having the fear that I am alone or my family will not be taken care of. So reassurance and doing everything proactively in order to make lives simpler or make lives easier for people, and giving also creating options for people to work from home or work from office. All these three combined, it was a complex process. But I still feel that the feeling of superordination, that we are meant for some higher purpose. And in this process, it is not required that somebody gives you publicly some sort of praise or not. And I think the bankers' names were taken by the top people of the country in various contexts. And as adults, because we are all adults, and in adult ego state, you can't behave like a child who always want sort of confirmation or appreciation.
Right.
That's adult ego state.
Right.
So the bankers are all adult people. They are adult ego state. They always think in terms of what, why, where, when, which, right?
Right.
That's why it was much easier for us to create that kind of climate.
Right. That was very elaborate once again. Now coming to a very important function of HR, which is an ongoing function, and that is, in fact, State Bank invests a lot in people development, and the kind of training system or learning system that State Bank has, I don't think any organization in the world would have that kind of vast and complex and that system. So how did you manage that part of the function? That how did you continue to upskill people? How ready were you to do that? Did it continue to go as per expectation, or something more could have been done?
I think there are two aspects to it. One is that you have people who will consume, and then you have factories which will produce, right? Now, the factories need to work on, say, three legs. The first leg is the normal products which the factory has for people in normal times. The second leg is that you will have some products, and there will be some products which you test market, right? You take iske saath ye bhi free le jaiye kind of thing. Now, the third leg is that something which you are preparing in advance, which you know that at some point of time, maybe this third leg becomes the most important leg of the tripod. Now, in State Bank of India, if you see, the first leg of learning was naturally the circulars part, that we used to have every day some sort of circulars, and all of us,
right,
when joined the bank, we understood that circular that red or green or whatever
Right,
colors are.
right, right.
That's the most important position, and somebody also sometimes used to take it away. Take it away, and people not knowing about it. So that was the power. So knowledge as such has always been of importance and premium in the State Bank of India and for other organizations also. But here it is more critical because each transaction you take has some sort of legality attached to it,
Right.
some sort of process attached to it, and if you deviate from that, then chances of risk for the organization and the individual risk also increase.
Right.
So that part of cultural DNA for learning. Now, so secondly, what we used to do, you had training centers, huge, say, architecture of training system, where you still have around 4,200 students can every day come and learn and stay in the hostel. So that's a ashram kind of thing which we have been practicing for the last 30, 40 years. Now, so these dominant trends were slowly also getting sort of blended with the e-learning, the digital part. We also had a digital system, which you all would have prepared, say, audiovisual contents for people to learn at their own pace, a small size, bit size, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, or then we had capsules, nuggets through mobiles, all these things were there. The third thing which we are preparing is without, without it being publicly tested at such a large scale was the purely digital model, everything digitized. Right? So that came in handy because our people, members, other support staff were there. They have been preparing about it. Now this came very handy. People were already exposed to e-learning through lessons, e-lessons, small lessons.
Right.
But this preparation which we had made, so webinars, as you know, webinars have become the most important medium. They are the new national highways, so to say. So in this new national highways of digital, cyber systems, here we thought that it will have to be a blended thing. So what we did is that we had already digitized during this process for the last 2 months or April. You know that March and April are generally leaner months because you have closing and then you have a lot of emphasis on business, accounting, audits and things like that. So that period was used for digitizing all the materials and then also updating it, discarding whatever was not required. So that part was ready and a lot of questions were prepared. And those questions were more in the nature of application rather than the nature of the knowledge retrieval. So that part was done. Came Corona, and thereafter we started the webinar thing, and short webinars, 1 hour, 2 hour. So the drudgery of being trained for 8 hours or 7 hours together, that drudgery was also taken off.
Right.
And the forces of not deputing people to training centers because they will lose hands and work will hamper. So that kind of mindset also got changed because people understood that it can be done in a couple of hours and people can do at whatever point of time it's convenient for people. So that way we have already upskilled, and in this process we also partnered with some organizations, some fintechs and some edutechs who were able to design some products for us, gamify things. So I think we had already made preparations. So factory was well prepared with the third leg being not tested at the scale. And people were already having this feeling that learning is the only way to survive in a bank and in a knowledge or like bank. So there was a perfect match between the knowledge and the third system which we had created.
Right. Awesome. And now when things become normal, everything is absolutely okay on the physical front. So even then, do you think this virtual trainings that State Bank and all other organizations have also initiated, is that going to stay, or there will be some tone down of the physical trainings and scaling up of virtual trainings?
I think, we have to understand the basic human nature. We all get bored very easily with.
Right.
If things are linear, we get bored very easily.
Right.
We all need change. Understood? And that is why, just imagine when a caveman, say 20,000 years ago or more, he say hunted an animal, brought the animal to the cave, started eating. For the next 10 days, there was no problem in eating. And then who asked him to start carving something on the stone?
Right.
Nobody asked.
Right.
It was not, there was no KPA, it was not a part of his cash flow which is going to come.
Right.
So human nature will always experiment, it will always need variety. So from that perspective, even if you have a mobile, we still have people who write letters.
Right.
I came in contact with a person recently. He said that he is writing a letter every week to his son. I said, why? Now, why are you writing a letter? Why are you not typing it on WhatsApp? He said that when I write a letter, then, and when my daughter receives it, then initially, son receives it, initially she felt, what is this? This is atavistic kind of thing. You are going back. But the feeling of novelty that a letter is coming and he or she is reading it twice, skipping it. So people will always find some value in both physical, both digital, and particularly digital. What digital doesn't give you, it doesn't give you the benefit of non-verbal cues.
Right.
In a physical setting, say you have been a trainer, you would find that many boys and girls or say adult people who would have come in contact with you, they would have sought some personal say conundrums they are facing in their lives. Would have got, right? But do you think that if it's a digital environment only, people will talk to you and will discuss things? A lot.
No.
And then the group dynamics, the learning which happens because of group dynamics, of people. And when you talk on this thing, digital, you also have a sense, jaldi khatam karein. Jaldi khatam karein. Ab aankhon pe pressure pad raha hai, right? But when you are in a physical mode, you are a bit relaxed, you give time to yourself. So I think all these models will be used, maybe in different proportions for different kind of people.
Right. So there'll be a blend that will evolve, and there'll be a right mix of them, right?
It will be a pure rainbow. That is because rainbows will always.
Right. So in these times, one of the things that you mentioned in the beginning of your conversation, that motivation and superordinate goal, you talked about that. So what is it that you did in these times to engage people more, and how to keep them connected to the organization? What some specific initiatives taken in these times?
Say in these times, we always try to say three people in the sense that many a time we all believe and we all work with assumptions. So like staff members also had assumptions when we had Corona. And almost everybody thought that this time the promotion exercise will not happen. Right? Because promotion, there's a template for that. You go for written exam also in some skills, then you have interviews, elaborate interviews, and then the final selections and all. Right? Now, with this paradigm in the minds of people for the last so many years, the capacity of the organization to innovate something new for giving the end result was not thought, because we all work on assumptions. So without telling people that this is what we are planning to do, but with a goal in mind that if we have committed to our people that say by 30th of April, if you have done a good work and if you're eligible, you will be rewarded, because they say the timely rewards are sensitive, right? If you delay the reward, then the importance is lost. Right. So from that perspective, what we did is that we, while Corona was at its peak in terms of incomprehensible, I mean, it was incomprehensible at that point of time what is going to happen. And people were also fearful. We completed all the interview processes by tweaking here and there. And by 29th of April, we were able to promote 12,000 to 14,000 people, and around 40 to 50,000 people were there. So now what happened, that this instilled a feeling that it's possible. Like what Napoleon said, impossible is a word full of dictionary of fools, or there is no Alps. So
Right.
similarly, when this happened, there was a lot of positive energy in the people that we can, State Bank of India can do anything. We can do anything, right?
Right.
Thereafter, what we did is that we started a lot of blogging in the sense that we always we spoke about the threat, that the threat is there and the threat has to be recognized, comprehended, and this is how we need to work on threat and protect ourselves, protect our customers, and do our job with a dose of superordination, right? So this was another intervention. The third, we also give distributed decision making at the localized levels.
Okay.
Say in Raigad of Maharashtra, or say some other district of some other state where there is a complete lockdown, branches not getting allowed to be opened. So the local person, local controller was empowered to say, yes, branches would be closed, or say only these many facilities could be available, which otherwise is a centralized kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
So what you did is that you gave devolution of power.
Right.
You told that it is possible to do what we have committed despite Corona.
Right.
And then there were family. We also started and experimented with family fun time, right? So around 7 or 8 o'clock in the night, the family members of a particular region, they all did some sort of antakshari or some sort of quizzing. Now so we also allowed a lot of experiments to happen at different levels without being prescriptive about it, that you do that, you do not do that. And the 1st of July, if you remember, that is the most important day for a state bank.
Day, yeah.
Normally in the circles or places people do in smaller groups, but first time in the history, because of Corona, we were able to give facility to 2 lakh people to join together in WebEx, where everybody was able to see the program. People who, instead of coming here, they all sent their songs or dance sequences, which were just here, and all those were played. They were spoken to. Then our senior officials, managing directors, and chairman, they all spoke to those people. So first time, global became purely local. Right? So we all traversed time and distance, and we all felt together. Now this was another 2 lakh people, and almost 50,000, 60,000 people watching every time.
Right.
Somebody coming out. So we were highly experimental with customer and the internal customer both in mind.
Right.
Trying to simplify things. So all these things with the DNA of the bank, that we are here as banker to Indian, and we cannot allow our glory to dim down. All the things together led us to perform, acquit ourselves well in these times.
Okay, great. This is something very interesting. 2 lakh people getting exposed to one event that the bank cherishes year after year. This is something very, very fascinating. Means otherwise, in reality, all these people can never be together, obviously. But here you were able to create that platform. That's something very, very amazing. Wow, congrats for that. Now, one theme which is very important for you, as I understand from my earlier conversations with you, you can keep both the times in perspective, these current times, which we are going through, challenging times, social distancing, work from home, this kind of scenario, plus the times which are about to come. So what is your say on building strong teams? Because teams are the foundation of an organization, small teams, big teams. So what is your take? What are your suggestions? What are the ideas that you would like people to experiment with?
I think all teams, when they're formed, now the purpose of the team, what is the purpose of this team building, that has to be articulated in very detailed kind of statement. When we form team, whether we form team in a small branch or whether we form team in a corporate office, now the idea that all of us here are here in the boat, we have all climbed this boat, and we are all going from Trichy to say Timbuktu, whatever place. So we all have to cooperate with each other, listen to the captain, share their space together, spot the storms which are coming in the sea, and then guide each other without having any rancor towards each other, so that in 10 days time we are able to reach. So that's the most important thing, that how strongly or in how much detail you are able to articulate the purpose of, because teams when formed, they also die. Right?
Yeah.
After they die because of transfers, because of dislocations, changes, etc., etc. So teams have a life. So I know what is the purpose of this team, that has to be articulated well, which many a times is not articulated, because there are assumptions. Say we are in a branch, we have come together in a branch. Why? Because to serve customers. Right? Why? In deposits, do advances. Now these are very broad generic terms, and this doesn't compel the employees to get motivated and say coalesce together.
True.
Now, the leader, if you are able to sell the dream that, see, we are here to change the face of, say, Gachibowli, right? Change the face of this particular village we are there. So we'll do everything within the confines of law,
right,
with a ecosystem, so that something happens. So for team, I think a goal, a purpose, more than the money which you get for the work, that has to be enunciated very clearly. Communication lines have to be very, very open. Communication lines, the open communication things. Then number 3 would be that you must, the team leader must know, comprehend the abilities, the vulnerabilities of each team member, and use the vulnerabilities or say strengths for the common goal. Then you have to have very clear, transparent reward and recognition systems, right? And 5th, after every project, we need to have an after the work review, get learned, and final celebrations. So whether corona, no corona, whatever it is, this basic framework of creating a team, comprehending it, finally giving a result, that will remain. So modern times also, and particularly in these times where there are more virtual teams, where people are working Zoom or Webex, I think the leader's role has increased a lot.
True.
Leader of the past also got supported by momentum of the machine. Right? So even if you are not a good driver, then the people around, the helpers, sometimes they will also push the cart. You will. But now, when there are no helpers around to help you, so your own investment in your understanding of the business which you are in, your own understanding of the competition, your understanding of threats, the processes and systems, and also huge ability to understand people. That what triggers this person to work, or what triggers this person to act as a disruptor. So leaders will have to redefine themselves. And if leaders redefine themselves, teams will perform well. Otherwise, the facility or the benefit of a machine supporting the leader is somehow in a penumbra zone. It's not in the umbra zone.
Right. Great.
That's it.
So one question for which you can give a very quick answer, and then I'll move on to the next one. And after that, perhaps we'll open up for question answers from the audience.
Yeah.
Is the process from the beginning, from recruitment to promotions to transfers, is everything happening normally in the bank in these times also, or something has got affected?
I think promotions have happened.
You mentioned that.
Transfers, in case of transfers, there has been some say paradigm change, in the sense that this year, because of the fact that the safety comes first for the people. And we found that at many places, if you go, then you have difficulty in getting houses also.
Right.
So only those transfers have been done where there is a necessity for the role, because the role has been vacated, somebody has to come to handle the job, or there are some legal requirements to transfer. So the transfer machinery has been right-sized, so to say, for as a result of corona.
Right. Okay.
Number three, what you said, recruitment. So recruitment, they had some hibernation period for a couple of months, 3 months. But we understood that we have to redefine the way we recruit people. So you would have seen that we are the only bank which went to the market, and we also advertised very generously about recruitment of around 3,800 or so officers recently. I mean, the applications come and we're processing it.
Right.
So even in these times, organization has been able to display that it's an agile organization, and it's always able to adapt. Because working in a state bank, I always take pride in the fact that it started with even from the Cornwallis time, even when the Cornwallis to say 1857 to Wajid Ali Shah to 47 to whatnot.
Right.
So we are anti-fragile, so to say, to use your Nicholas Taleb. We are anti-fragile, that anything which comes as a difficulty or as an obstacle, we are able to become stronger by virtue of adaptation.
Right.
So that we understand that in the normal course of business, it would have been difficult for, with a normal understanding of recruitment, normal understanding of transfer or promotion, it would have been difficult to follow that trodden path. But we have redefined the meaning of that particular thing, right? Because when you have an object clarity, that what you are going to achieve, what you want to achieve, then you can create some more path. You can go by air, you can go by car, or you can go by ship. So this thing you have to decide, and we have decided it well.
Wow. That's wow. Wow. Agile and anti-fragile. That's very interesting. One question, this is perhaps the last question I will ask, and then all the audience, all the participants here, please start preparing your questions. We'll have some quick question answers. See, we merged 7 banks within ourselves, within State Bank of India, and every entity had its own culture. So how did you blend that culture? Have things been taken care of, or some things are still getting settled? That is one part of the question. And second part of the question is, whenever such kind of change, in fact, whatever change that comes in State Bank of India, it has to be rolled out to the whole organization. So how do you sensitize people towards such kind of changes?
The first thing is to understand that we all are human beings and we have similar needs, right? So despite the fact that Maslow is cliched now, everybody will talk about Maslow, but the fact is that all of us need safety at the very first thing.
Right.
Safety in our context is not safety of getting harmed physically, but the psychological safety as we speak.
Right.
So you can bring a PK from Mars, right? You can bring a PK from Mars, and if the PK gets psychological safety in the country, he also gets blended in the society where we live instead.
Right.
So creating a sense of psychological safety for a person, for a group of people who come to you, that's the most important thing for any cultural merger or cultural adaptation.
Right. Absolutely.
Instead.
Absolutely.
Now, what is cultural safety in this context, organizational context? That organization has certain benefits to be given, certain comfort to be given to set of people. So when you decide a rule that whether you come from X organization or Y organization, the rules will be same, and you will not at all be discriminated against. So first thing State Bank did is that we stopped talking of EAB. It was officially banned, right? That nobody will speak that he is from some X bank or Y bank. On that particular day when merger happened, anybody found speaking or writing also in any communication that Vikramaditya Duggal belongs to Bharatiya Mahila Bank. Right? And how Bank of India. So that was the first obliteration. We said all are one.
Right.
And this is the power of culture. You said that nobody will say anything. Nobody will say. Now, after, and then you had blending of people, 2 people from this bank, 2 people from that bank, 2 people from here, 2 people from there, in all functions. It is not that in some, you don't put people in marketing of the bank which you have merged with, or you don't put people in administration. So whatever the posts are, the people were blended together.
Okay.
So that there was a sense of fairness. Because if in any society you go, if you have the psychological safety that you will be treated as a citizen of the country, right? And without any separate spoils for you or separate concessions for you, then on that very day, your loyalty towards that particular country increases. You have seen the migration stories. We have certain countries where a lot of people want to go because they understand that in that particular country, we are treated equally despite the fact that we are of different races instead.
Right.
And in certain don't go. So similarly, we are understanding that these are the 2 primary reasons for employees, say, disconnect. One would be that's lack of psychological safety. Number 2 is still some of the totems or symbols which would say that this man is coming from Mars and he's PK or else instead. He's Bikram, I am also Bikram. That's all.
Right.
So that's the level playing ground. And then everybody will eat only roti or chapati or paneer or chicken. No distinction in that.
Right.
And then number 3, that you will be helped, you will be assisted in the new knowledge which you require. There's somebody going from India to America, and then you say that you have a right-hand driving instead. And if the police person there assists you,
right?
Okay, India, sorry, you do this way. Without charging or penalizing you, you have a sense of acceptance for that particular place. So all those factors, it led to a cultural cohesion. And I don't think if you go to any branch now or any place, if you ask people, "Kis bank ka hai?" So it's very difficult to find out. So
in fact, I would say that I have been to branches, but I have not experienced any such thing that he is from State Bank of Hyderabad or any other part of the bank. So what you're saying, I can validate what you're saying. Yeah, right. So thanks, and let's open up the question. We already have some questions coming from participants, and what I will request you is you'll have to be quick in answering questions because we'll be able to take up more and more questions.
Yes, I'll be quick.
So first question that I am reading out is, how was staff motivated for safety and work continuance at the branches where COVID was detected? This is a question from Rohit Tandon.
Yeah, where COVID was detected, then there was a clear understanding or clear instruction that people will, whosoever came in contact, they will be quarantined. And if required, then the branch will also be closed and it will be opened only when the government wants it to open. So the branches work purely as per the local government guidance and direction. And when, say, the 14 days or 15 days, whatever days was required, and you came to know today that somebody has been detected with COVID, so you say that the branch will be closed. So, and there was no frowning from any quarter. I don't know how we close the branch. And so there was an understanding and safety first for all the employees and the customers. This was the, I think if you do a frequency analysis of all the speeches or all the webinars which would have been done with staff members, I think safety would have got the highest frequency.
Right. Most used word.
Yeah, most.
In fact, I got an opportunity to interact with a couple of officers in some training interactions. And even my word that was primarily coming out was, ultimately, it's all about being safe. So
yeah,
that must have added to the frequency analysis.
Yes, is it right?
Yeah. So there's a question.
We had say information from people. I mean, what to do, what not to do. Even Rohit also sent information that in some bag this is what is being done. So we said, yes, good, that's it. So the process of osmosis was very strong. Whosoever talks something, we used to say behave like a sponge. We didn't reject any information.
Right.
So that was what I say. It was an iterative learning. That in some branch we found that people have done some new kind of jugaad or new kind of innovation. Then we immediately passed out in other groups. See, इसने अच्छा किया है, तुम भी करो. So when you allow freedom to people, some sort of controlled freedom that you don't this Lakshman Rekha, but within that, whatever you want to do, you do.
Right.
So all those organizational processes help people in remaining safe.
Right. Great. So there's a question about people development from Arvind Jha. It's a little longish question, so I'll be reading it out. There's hardly any learning given to officers at senior levels, particularly in leadership or behavioral area. Understand that SBI has started one such institute in Kolkata. Is there any plan in place where all top executives attend some kind of assessment center sort of program, and going forward, their developmental needs are taken care of?
Yeah, the program is in midway. We have already engaged one firm, HR firm. So they are in talks with different people, I mean, different seniors, juniors, the top management. And last time, a couple of years ago, we had competency assessment with individual development plans. So this time again, we have thought that maybe in times of Corona, some new competencies are required. So these people will be administering those assessment tests or methods to all the top management people, maybe around 1,200 people who do things. So who guide and who create climate for action or positive action in the bank. So, and they all will be given an individual plan of action for around 6 to 8 months, which will also be assessed. I mean, whether they're developing in the right direction or not direction, with proper feedback. So that plan is already there, and it will start in September itself.
Okay. So the next question is an anonymous question, and the question is how to sell ourselves to the management of the company for which I work. I think it's not from State Bank. So how to sell ourselves to the management of the company for which I work? What shall I do as a person, as an executive?
Yeah, how as a company, what do I do for getting better prices in the market, right? Say, let us take a cue, because I have a very pet statement which I normally use, that we all are scripts in an organization. An organization is a Bombay Stock Exchange. People buy you, right? So how to make yourself viable, that is important. So how do you buy a share? You find that the dividend it gives, or the capital appreciation which happens in this company, and the business model this company has. Those three are giving you a lot of comfort, and there is a trend. So you say that this company will grow and I'll buy it at higher cost, at premium.
Right.
Similarly, for any employee in the bank, the most important thing I ask the employee, whosoever, please go through the last 2-3 years annual report of that particular company, wherever you work. Last 2-3 years. It may be around 900 pages, because all annual reports are not less than 265 to 300 pages.
Right.
Read each and everything from that annual report. Find out what are the areas where the company understands that it has lesser number of skills, skill sets. Or which are the skill sets which appear to be obtuse, which appear to be a bit esoteric, and generally you don't have. So first of all, try to get those skills which are required. Because I read about a police officer. Now that police officer is highly decorated, not coming from IPS, but from normal PCS service. Now this person understood. He's from UP, I read it somewhere. This particular person understood that being in, say, 20 years or 15 years ago, he invested heavily in cyber security, on cyber crime, right? Now, when you join police, you don't invest in cyber crime. You say that my administration, investigation, these parts are important, the physical one.
Right.
spotted the trend and he invested, and now he is the most important authority,
Right.
and everybody likes him, right? Everybody gives
Right.
confidence. So similarly, for any employee of the organization, bank or for manufacturing or whatever, it's very important to know that this organization has a skill requirement of A, X, Y, Z, E.
Ah,
Now, what are the skills which are in plenty, which are replaceable skills?
right.
A can become A1, right?
Uh-huh.
So go, right? But there is a skill known as X. So when you go for in a dictionary, then in case of X, you will hardly have 2 pages or 3 pages in dictionary, right?
Right.
If you go for A or B, you will have at least 20 pages in the dictionary,
Right.
or more than that. So if you have more words, then naturally your value will be less.
Right.
So try to find out which skill is the X skill or the Z skill. Invest more while others are not investing.
Right. Right.
Number two, find out what are the pain points in the industry, what the industry's pain or particular company's pain points is, and try to give workable suggestions at various fora wherever you get an opportunity. And opportunities are plenty these days.
Right. True.
Right.
True.
So people suddenly, even if you are a scale 1 or a scale 2, people will suddenly discover you. I'll give you an example. There is a scale 1 or a scale 2 officer in the bank. I don't exactly remember his scale. Now, this person otherwise would not have been known to the DMDs and the CGNs or the top. What he did is that he created a group wherein it was a real-time question answer group. And now in that group, there are 40,000 people or 60,000 people where there is a real-time question. Khata kaise khole, khata band kaise, and
Right.
and despite the fact that organization-wise his hierarchy is very, I mean at the
Junior level.
junior levels, but still we also talk to him, kaisa chal raha hai, or he is in touch with senior people. So hierarchies will not matter. Your skill, your innovation, your creativity, and the value which you bring to the organization,
Right.
that is important.
Right.
So please reflect on that and work out a plan for that.
Great. That was a very elaborate answer. So we will take a couple of more questions. We are overshooting the time. I'm asking the audience, just stay on. We'll answer the questions which are already there. No more than that. What will be the new normal for HR in SBI and other major PSU banks? What you think will change in HR strategy in PSU banks? Ravi Krishnamurthy.
Yeah, I think the most important thing which will happen is that people will have to, the HR people will have to be, they will have to work more in the sense of collegial method. Collegial method, what I mean from collegial method is that more from the method of developing people. Because HR in the olden days was more of administration, how you transfer people, how you keep things secretive, how you say sort of distribute good things to employees. Now, from that perspective, where you will have an HR where the HR people will be interested in keeping people very free from that part. See, in my own, what I found is that say last year, we thought of doing some kind of assessment of the different sectors, right? Now, how are they performing in employee engagement? How the number of complaints being received? Then I was pleasantly surprised that some of the people said, "Sir, जो है हमसे अब तो पूछा जा रहा है कि आपका increment कब due है, या आपका extension कब due." Otherwise, in olden times, it would have been extension due है तो देखेंगे, right? So already the HR has transformed itself 180 degree, and people are more responsive. I'll say in my case, what I've decided is that if any complaint is there on my table, then I want it to be treated as the most important thing. Why this complaint happened? There would be complaints where the aspirations will not match the realities and complaints will arise. There's always there. But there are a good number of controllable complaints which should not have arisen, like somebody not getting his TA bill or medical or whatever. So those complaints should arisen in the first place. Right. So when I say that if there's such a complaint arises, it will be treated as something which demands a staff accountability. Now, so already HR has this function of being relevant to people. Well, I understand that if any organization has a good human resources team, then life of the organization becomes easy. Because see, what HR drives culture, of course, with the support and patronage of the top management, because they give them bandwidth and mandate to do that.
True, true, true.
So HR drives culture, culture drives people,
Right,
and people drive business.
right,
That's the simple equation.
right. True, true.
So from that perspective, if you have to get business, you have to drive people. If you drive people, you have to get a,
Culture in
favorable,
place. Yeah,
favorable and constructive culture. And if you have to have a good culture, then you have to have a sense of caring, sharing
right,
instead.
right,
So, and that HR has a great role in that.
right. So there's a question, combined question from Ambika Prasad. He says that, is there any policy of the bank to engage more people work from home format? It'll help reducing costs and maybe very favorable to women employees specifically.
Well, I'll give answer in yes and no.
Uh-huh.
Yes and in the sense that we all think that if an organization has to become anti-fragile, then it will have to create options as much as possible.
Right.
Instead.
Right.
So option A doesn't work, option B works, C works, D works. So from that perspective, we have a plan to create more options, institutionalizing the work from vision. So some of the people who are in need, or when the organization itself is in need, will allow people to go work from home. But one thing everybody should understand, that the human touch or human aggregation, why did tribes happen? People say
right.
families would have been ensconced in some forest instead. Then 50 families came and they became a tribe.
Right.
Tribes became what? Communities. Communities became societies.
Right.
So the human desire to connect, aggregate, discuss, share, and care, that will always be there, and the physical space provides you that kick.
Right.
The physical space so far has still to evolve or to invent such kinds of artifacts. So that is why even if people work from home after 2 days or 3 days, maybe you like to go to places. Number 2, see, if there is a person who stays alone with all the books, like the books which are behind you, he has the books, he has the television, he has the family, food, but you don't get a stimulation. You don't get modeling.
Right.
But if you go to a HR conference, then you'll find John McEnroe or Navratilova or whatever.
Right.
Yes? And then you see the mannerisms of that particular individual, the way he conducts himself or herself, and then also share some nuggets of wisdom. You pick up those. Right. You become a better person, right? Or you also become a person who will not do all those things.
Right. True. So the people connect helps you to in your own development. Lots of learning that happens from the people around
your
you.
Own development.
True. Right. Another question is, I think we have the last 2 questions. Why the bank is now focusing on recruiting more retired officials? What is happening to getting more young blood in the system?
See, they say that when you become 60, you can really leave. I mean, you really know how to leave or how to work. Do you agree or not? When you retire.
Right.
Now, in human society, this retirement business or the business of this kind of, say, segregation, retired people, active people, pensioners, this is all a British construct.
In fact, I'm just coming in. I just read that the most productive age of human beings is from 60 to 80 years. That's the latest information that is traveling in.
I'm going a bit farther. I'm from the society where we live.
Right.
You see, we have 3 types of societies. Societies in the sense 3 types of layers in the society. One is a purely service class. कमाएगा, खाएगा, retire करेगा, right?
Right.
The one class is the agriculture-based class, the farmer class.
They work till the very end.
They work till the very end. Of course, what happens is that after 60 or 70, if their muscles and bones are not ready to give hard work, then they will tell you, नहीं इस खेत में ये वाला लगाना चाहिए. This kind of
consulting role.
crop consulting role, giving sort of what do you say? Giving a sense of history, what happened when, right? So he is the board of director. He is a board director, and the son becomes the managing director.
Right.
Instead.
Right.
Now, in business family, what happens? The businessman, he was running a shop, and then what happens? 3 generations start working together. The 20-year-old child who has come from college in the evening, he will man the counter. The 40, 50-year-old man, he will go to market, find out suppliers, buyers, and do some business, right? And this old man, what he will do, he will keep an eye
on everything
over
that is happening.
Workers, keep an eye over the past connections, the family affairs, etc., etc. So till the end of life, nobody retires. Only the roles change. Now here you find that at the age of 60, people have got a lot of experience. They have skills, talent. But because it's a British construct of retirement, then people have to retire. So when you divide roles, that these are critical roles, these are legal roles, these are these are roles which do not fall under the ambit of legality or risk or things like that. And you have people now, you see my predicament, I have 250,000 employees and 250,000 pensioners. So practically I have 5 lakh employees.
Right.
And if anything bad happens in the bank, then all these pensioners, they will start feeling the pain or maybe criticizing, appreciating or whatever instead.
Right.
So if there are some people who want engagement, then bank also has some jobs which are not riskless jobs, and experience is required. And if these people are available, it's fine. And so out of 250,000, if say 5,000 people or 6,000 retired people, if they get engaged for a year or 2 or 3 years, it doesn't matter. It brings energy in a different way.
True. Right. I think that will answer Ambika's question very well. So we have the last question here. In the promotion, this is Rajesh Gupta. In the promotion process, do you counsel those who could not make it? Is there a system for that?
As of now, there is not a system for that. But I am sincerely thinking about it, that to create a system. And for that, what we are proposing is that this formal counseling and informal counseling both have different kinds of impact.
True.
Right? So like say, if there is a position for which I require a person, then telling people in advance, look, see, we are looking for these competencies. Say if you want to become a general manager in the bank, we require competencies that you can manage people, you can manage stakeholders, you can communicate well, you have to have a voracious reader of 300 pages every day in order to understand, take decisions instead. And your past performance will not be a guarantee for future performance. The roles are different.
Right.
So what personally I am thinking is that for each scale, you need to have a competency set so that the next person understands that if I get promoted, I need to have competency XYZ. Like if you're working in an IT company, then they will say that for becoming a project manager, you should know Python or Java or Oracle or whatever.
Right.
So those clarities are there. And then understanding that if you want to become, you would have been a very good accountant or very good field officer. But when you become a regional manager, your job is to what? Your job is to understand. Your job is to find opportunity. But from a scale 4 to 5 in the interviews or the past performance, it's found that you're not able to say, give the inspire, like what happens? It's just like a loan proposal. When a loan proposal comes, then you say yes when it inspires confidence. Right? That this entrepreneur will be able to mix men material, marketing, uh, and everything for a product which will sell, and the cash will come back
Right.
instead. So similarly, when you are going for an interview, me or you or anybody, you will have to inspire confidence in the people who are mandated with the, say, who are mandated with investment, because that particular organization is investing its trust in you that you will
Right.
take this organization forward.
Right.
So
Right.
anybody who wants to get promoted in any organization, bank or whatever, you have to be greater than the task which you are attempting for, so that the investment team, people investment, I don't say interviewers, I say
Right.
people investment. So this PIT is able to assess your TOL by TN, debt equity, your current ratio, your
Right.
net
Right.
worth, and finally say that for him, we are giving him a loan of 10 crores or 20 crores
Right.
rupees.
Right.
So from that perspective, of course, non-promotions are always painful. There is no doubt about that. But some sense of realism has to be there, that it is the organization which is important, and it requires certain types of skills which it thinks is important for furtherance of its mission, vision.
Right. Right. Great. So I'm just checking with the audience. Was that a great conversation? Just give your response in the chat box. How excited were you in listening to every response that Alok has given? Great.
But I have a different take on this.
Uh-huh.
I think that conversations like this, they require to sink in.
That's
And
right. Right.
think, and asking people to say, immediately give an answer.
No, see,
You can.
I'm just asking, I'm taking your words and checking with them. Did
Okay.
did the responses inspire confidence in them or not? I'm using the same words.
Yeah, that's a good framing.
Right.
That's a good framing.
Right.
Because I think that it's a time spent, and all these people who have come here, their time is much more valuable, and if they have spent time,
Absolutely. I
and if they
fully agree
don't,
with you. The last question that I am asking, and after that we'll say goodbye. So tell me,
yeah.
Alok, what inspires you?
Me.
Yeah.
See, what inspires me is that I think how much can I create a difference in what is happening.
Right.
So whatever I do, I find that whether can I do something which simplifies things,
Right.
which unknots the knot.
Unknots the knot. Okay.
Yeah. And simplifies things, unknots the knot. And whether it promotes, whether my conduct promotes honesty, integrity, values like that. So if the desire to be of some value to the setting where I'm placed in, that always inspires me.
Right.
And being curious, I think a set of things which inspires me.
Great. I know from my conversation with you that you are a voracious reader also. Which is the last book that you have read?
The last book I've read, that is Ikigai, or some name is there.
Ikigai.
Very famous. Ikigai.
Ikigai. Okay.
So,
okay.
That's the book I read a couple of days back.
Okay. So thanks Alok, for this very absorbing and interactive conversation and very thought-provoking ideas that you have shared. And
there's some question coming. The Sanjay Bar, there's some question coming or what?
No. I don't see any question here.
Okay, right. There is a hand.
Hand raising or no, that's separate.
That's different.
Yeah. So great. Thank you so much. And thanks to the audience who were here for the entire span of about 80 minutes now. And you were paying attention to every bit of conversation that was happening, and lots of questions that have come up. And I've already got some responses here that people are saying we need more such conversations. And rest assured, I'll keep creating these opportunities of conversations. Maybe after a couple of months down the line, we'll get a look back once again. But I have a couple of people lined up for these kinds of conversation, and for sure you'll keep on getting. initially I mentioned that I'm doing an online program. So this is a link I'm sharing with you. If anyone is interested in having a look at the webinar that I do and what I offer, you can do that. Thanks, Alok. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Express my gratitude to people
Yes,
who have time, because I think that time is the most important gift which one can give to others. So
right.
thank you. I'm deeply grateful for the time which you've given to me, and otherwise it would not have been possible. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Okay. Okay, right.